Inside Job, a very underrated series on Netflix, has just been canceled after previously being renewed. Not only am I sad that they canceled this high-potential series, but they left us on one of the biggest cliffhangers I've ever seen. Before we utilize Project Reboot to go to a better timeline where this show didn't get canceled, make sure to like this video and subscribe or I'll toss you over to the lizard people. And I don't think you'd like that. Now, just in case you've never seen Inside Job, this is your one and only spoiler warning moving forward. Go watch the show and then come back so we can deal with the damage control. The bad news came to us a few days ago that Inside Job would not be renewed for a second season. To clear up some confusion, technically parts 1 and 2 are considered one long season opposed to 2 seasons. That's why the Gravity Falls writer and show creator Shion Takeuchi said this in her statement. I'm heartbroken to confirm that Netflix has decided to cancel season 2 of Inside Job. Over the years, these characters have become real people to me and I am devastated not to be able to watch them grow up. Reagan and Brett deserve to get their ending and finally find happiness, and I would have loved to have been able to share what was in store with you all. To everyone who watched, thank you for coming along on the ride. Even though I'm sad, it helps to know that there's people out there who care just as much about these characters as me. Inside Job was just getting great at the end of part 2. Listen, it's one of those shows that took a minute to develop character relationships, admittedly, but so was The Office. Have you ever seen the first season of The Office? They didn't get it right until season 2. But when they got it right, they perfected it. Brett, for example, was a one-note character until some light is shed on his backstory in episodes 4 and 5. Learning more about him certainly elevates him, and with that emotional connection, he may be one of my favorite characters now. Glenn was another one that had to grow on me, considering his only bit is that he's an ultra-conservative veteran who transformed himself into a dolphin for his country. He's funny to begin with, don't get me wrong, but the character work they did there was very necessary, showing his backstory about all the things that happened with his wife. The instant draw to Inside Job is the character of Reagan Ridley, voiced by the highly talented Lizzie Kaplan. Unlike her character in Cloverfield, Lizzie Kaplan voices a character that would have effortlessly stopped the kaiju and covered it up simultaneously. My first impression of Reagan was falsely interpreting her as a female Rick Sanchez, but she's so much more down to earth than Rick is, even if they both share a god complex. While Rick handles his emotional issues with a middle finger, Reagan is more sympathetic and tries to make things work with her friends and family. She even lets her dad walk all over her until she's had enough. Rick wouldn't allow that even for a second. My biggest draw to Reagan is she always looks exhausted and is constantly working towards her dreams. That dream may selfishly be world domination, but it's still relatable as the show presents this in a hilariously positive manner. I also think that when you're working towards a big goal, you can compare it to something like that in your mind. Even if it's just something as simple as a promotion at work, it feels like world domination. This is gonna sound so corny, I know, but I could see myself in Reagan. I think she personally has an emotional edge over Rick Sanchez, even if he is the smarter character who would win out in a battle of wits. Reagan Ridley is a vibrant character that only became more interesting as the show progressed. Now, I like this show, but I fell in love with it in its last 2 episodes. The majority of the show follows the Reagan-led group consisting of Brett, a rich kid turned yes man, Gigi, a social media manipulator, Glenn, the dolphin veteran thing we were just talking about earlier, Dr. Andre Lee, a crazy drug-addicted scientist voiced by the hilarious Bobby Lee, and last but not least, Magic Mike, my favorite side character voiced by my favorite Stranger Things side character. Brett Gelman is really drawn to conspiracy-themed characters, isn't he? In the unfortunately penultimate episode of the entire series, we introduce Project Reboot, a college project created by former head of Cognito, JR and Rand Ridley, who would go on to become Reagan's alcoholic and emotionally abusive father. Project Reboot has the power to alter the current timeline, and after creating it, the younger versions of JR and Rand are kidnapped by the overarching villains of the series, the Robes. They strike a deal with the Robes saying they won't use the device to mess with space-time as long as they can form a shadow government that turns into, well, the show we've been watching this whole time. Rand and JR secretly kept Project Reboot just in case things went south with the Robes. Rand might be an alcoholic piece of shit, but he's pretty intelligent. Maybe I should have used the Rick Sanchez comparison here. JR explains this to our crew after the timeline starts to shift because Rand is tampering with it. This concept is sweet. Listen, don't get me wrong, I loved the way the show was set up before, doing commentary in a slick and fun way based off of real-life conspiracy theories. The Alex Jones bit made me snort, I was laughing so hard. But Project Reboot elevates it past that though, introducing something so big that it changes the stakes for every character. Our powerful team here feared really only one thing, the Robes. I mean, we literally see them evacuating the office when the world is about to end because they just don't care at one point. But any mention of the Robe typically has them on the edge of their seat. Now with Project Reboot thrown into the mix, they may have a chance at overthrowing them if they're even human. I guess we'll never really get an answer to that question though. I hate to sound like a ShamWow commercial, but wait, there's more. In the final episode now, we get the best storyline of the entire series. In Appleton, Reagan must decide to leave her job behind to start a new life with the man of her dreams, or leave him behind for a huge opportunity to work closely with the Robes. She is choosing between love and her dream job, which, yes, isn't exactly original, but most rom-coms don't have a chance at ending with world domination most times. So I think they earned their flowers here, especially with how this one ends. She makes one of the most painful on-screen decisions I've seen in a while. I guarantee there was not a dry eye watching this scene. Don't lie to me, you cried too. Reagan wipes Stadler's memories and sends him on his way to the small town of Appleton, completely erasing any memories he had of the Illuminati and her. She does this only after seeing all of the possibilities that could stem from her plethora of decisions. This route was unfortunately the only one where Stadler would be happy. It genuinely made me cry after seeing so much of Reagan's unfortunate past. She had her mind tampered with when she was younger to forget about her only friend by her dad, so she would focus on her work. This is just one of the many horrible things she had to endure in her lifetime, presented to us in this show's short-lived runtime. I'm still not over it! This certainly may have been her only shot at happiness, and now it's gone. It was an incredibly emotional moment that I had finishing up this series by myself at 2 in the morning last night, and yes, I did cry into some late-night pizza. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Reagan sends Rand to shadow prison, and then the big cliffhanger of the whole series. The Robes discuss amongst themselves about how hiring Reagan is all a ruse for some greater plan. They also sort of admit that they aren't human here, which has me so curious to find out more about these characters who are really controlling the entire world. This is a question we may never get answered due to Netflix once again canceling a great show for no reason. I'm not gonna be one of those people who complains that Big Mouth got 6 seasons and not this show, because there are a lot of fans of that one. But it does make me sad that they don't see the potential in something like Inside Job versus the last season of Big Mouth that really just rebranded past jokes from the show's earlier seasons. I don't dislike Big Mouth, but it's definitely run its course. Inside Job had more story to tell, and it's a shame that we'll never get answers to many burning questions. Will Rand escape shadow prison? Will Stadler ever realize he lived another life that got wiped from his brain? And will Reagan figure out who the Robes really are? The world may never know. Do you think the conspiracy theories are true that Inside Job could come back sometime in the future, or are we all just going to look like the flat earthers? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching my latest video on Inside Job. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and send a nasty email to Netflix about canceling this show. Only kidding about that last thing. Or am I? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, Space Cowboy.